Biden, maskless, by the way, in the Oval Office, signing the $1.9 trillion COVID bill. He loves this kind of stuff. Why? Look at all the pork. $50 million for family planning going to nonprofits, i.e. Planned Parenthood. We have $200 million in the bill to the Institute of Museum and Library Services. $1.5 billion for Amtrak. In 3 years before the pandemic, Amtrak lost $392 million. A lot of this junk is in there. Let's bring in Thomas Schatz, president of the Citizens Against Government Waste. Thomas Schatz, welcome to Newsmax. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Well, not so great because of the bill. Neither are the taxpayers doing well, but yes, generally okay.
You know, the fake news was telling me all day long how popular this thing is, but anybody who likes it, I don't think they really get the full idea what's in. How egregious is this? You've been at this for a long time.
It's up there. It's certainly one of the most outrageously expensive bills we've ever seen. Remember, there's $1 trillion that is still unspent from the prior bills, all of which were bipartisan. This includes less than 10% directly related to COVID. Only 5% of the money in education will be spent this year. The rest of it will be spent over the next 7 years. And you mentioned the Institute for Museum and Library Sciences, $200 billion. They just got $275 million in the omnibus appropriations bill that was signed into law by President Trump in December. Like the National Endowment for the Arts and Humanities, they got money more than their annual budget in that case. Again, this is double, triple, in some cases, the money they would normally get.
What do we even have an Institute of Museum and Library Services for? That's a federal institution of some kind?
It's a federal agency that gives money to local libraries and museums. And by the way, now that Congress has decided to bring back earmarks, there are a lot of earmarks in there as well. I mean, opera houses and museums and a lot of other things that really are local problems, not a national emergency, certainly, that this bill is supposed to cover.
So how about this? Received some attention, probably not enough, but I want to get expert analysis. $5 billion fund for debt repayment targeting socially disadvantaged farmers. Now, if you go into the fine print here, socially disadvantaged, and this is a government-accepted term, I believe, means a group whose members have been subjected to racial or ethnic prejudice because of their identity as members of a group without regard to their individual qualities. Senator Lindsey Graham called this akin to reparations. It reads like it's potentially pretty unfair for folks who are not people of color. What's the deal here, sir?
Well, this is to help Black and Asian and tribal farmers, Native American farmers who claim that they have been discriminated against for years in lending by the Department of Agriculture. So the Senate Agriculture Committee passed a bill on a partisan basis about a month ago, right after they got into session. That bill was attached to the COVID relief bill without any discussion, without any amendments, without even being considered in the House. So whether this is an issue that should be considered or not, this is not the place to have this conversation and to discuss whether or not this is something that should be done with taxpayer money. Look, again, whether it's meritorious or not, it is certainly not fair to the other farmers that have suffered through COVID. And if it said farmers who have suffered because of COVID get money across the board, that might be okay. But this is completely unrelated. It relates to loans from USDA, has nothing to do with the pandemic.
And somebody just sticks it in there. Someone, no debate, no committee, nothing. It just gets slipped into this massive document.
Well, interestingly, it was proposed by Senator Warnock of Georgia, who is, everyone knows, won a special election that gave the Democrats the Senate. Yeah. And it's one of the consequences of the election, both in November and in January, that handed over control of Congress to the Democrats. And all of them are voting for this massive bill that, again, less than 10% goes for COVID relief. And the rest is unbelievable in terms of the progressive/socialist or liberal programs that they have now pushed through.
Thomas Schatz, we're glad that you're on the case, though. There could be a huge backlash. Come back soon. Thomas Schatz, great to have you from the Citizens Against Government Waste. Good stuff. We'll be right back.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.